My name is Andrew Perlott. Welcome to Socratic State of Mind. 7 Ideas for a Great 2026, Part 1. Here are 3 of the 7 ideas I've been thinking about lately and think I will probably be mulling over for much of the year. 1. You can't balance while lying down. Sophrosine is one of the classical virtues of Greek philosophy. It's variably translated as moderation, discipline, or balance, and Stoics thought we couldn't live the good life without it. They were probably right. Yet blind pursuit of life balance robs us of the good life as certainly as any vice. Wisdom sometimes requires focus on one thing to the exclusion of others. We raise children, we fight for causes, we meet deadlines. Worthwhile tasks call us to put others on the back burner. Discipline isn't just staying on task, but looking at good things and saying, "Not now, old friend." We balance over the course of seasons, relationships, and lives, not just over particular days or weeks. I think about La Rochefoucauld. Quote, "People made a virtue of moderation in order to limit the ambition of great men and to console mediocre people for their limited merit and station." That's Maxims 308. Now, I don't fully agree with that, but I know more who set their sights too low than work themselves to the bone for a worthy cause. It's what we aim at more than how hard we push that determines the rightness of a thing, and when expectations of balance constrain what wisdom demands, it's no longer moderation, but vice in a different form. If we must be well slept, well recreated, and well fed before tackling what's worthwhile, much of what's good in life will slip from our grasp. 2. Your limits are less circumscribed than you think. The growth mindset. I'm tired of hearing about it, honestly. Too bad it's often the solution to what ails us. I had so many problems with my body and mind when I was younger that I thoroughly inculcated a deterministic mindset. Genes determined my IQ, which is insufficient for my ambition. Fate handed me this rotten body, too plagued by disease and dysfunction to carry me across the finish lines I wanted to cross. Belief in innate intelligence crippled my intellectual development even after I'd bootstrapped my body into some semblance of working order. It's hardly a new phenomenon. Take this line, quote, "Do not assume it's impossible because you find it hard, but to recognize that if it's humanly possible, you can do it too," unquote. That's Marcus Aurelius Meditations 6:19. 20-year-old Andrew read that and thought a brilliant man had deluded himself about his abilities. Was this performative? He's clearly accomplished and effective. 41-year-old Andrew thinks Marcus wouldn't have seemed brilliant if he had thought any other way. There is, of course, a difference between fluid and crystal intelligence. We all know people who skip through life and never have to dig deep to succeed, but such natural ability works against them in some ways, since they rarely get invited to play the great Stoic game of life, which I've spoken about in previous articles. Such is the downside of effortless brilliance, but for even moderate minds like mine, crystal intelligence can be built. It's mental models, skills, knowledge, and mindsets. My leaky sieve of a memory? Yesterday, I chuckled over how easily I remembered a string of numbers and deployed them days later. Younger Andrew would have assumed I was born with a good memory. How unfair! Yet, I say to him, "Little do you know, young pup, that I built that memory." But this implies future Andrew looking back at today's whining and saying, "Little do you know, young pup, but I built that whatever." I'm not one for wallowing in regret. It's a useless emotion, but we need to see how often we fall short of our potential because our mindset assumes finite boundaries. So, will we bring a mindset of growth to us in the new year or continue to molder in assumed limitations? 3. You can generate urgency. You've certainly felt it. Energy and focus seize you when deadlines and external pressures loom. Obstacles fall away and hidden workarounds unveil themselves when there's no option but success. If a loved one dies, if we don't overcome all impediments and check off every item on our to-do list today, how high do your completion odds get? Do they double, quadruple? This is what urgency does to obstacles. Marcus Aurelius noted something of this sort. Quote, "Our inward power, when it obeys nature, reacts to events by accommodating itself to what it faces, to what is possible. It needs no specific material. It pursues its own aims as circumstances allow. It turns obstacles into fuel, as a fire overwhelms what would have quenched a lamp. What's thrown on top of the conflagration is absorbed, consumed by it, and makes it burn still higher." That's Meditations 4.1. Yet, when pressures recede, we often sink into a lassitude of good enough, and I'll get to it some days. Sometimes that's reasonable, see number 1, but often enough it's a surrender of something valuable or priceless. You'll feel it if this is the case with you. When Marcus notes this power to turn obstacles into fuel, he says it's present, quote, "when it obeys nature." Without getting into the weeds, he's talking about our ruling faculty, our hegemonicon. Unlike external circumstances, Stoics thought it was largely under our control, yet it often feels turned off until the panic of external pressures mounts. So, how do we square unwilling inertia with Marcus's insistence that we have an invincible force that adapts and grows stronger when facing adversity? It's an idea I've been playing with for several years and am still exploring, but I've come to believe that urgency, if that's the right word, does not have to depend on external motivators. It can be internally generated, though not quite ex nihilo. We might need to drag negotium into otium, which I've written about before, or otherwise see the bigger picture framing our actions as obstacles to turn into kindling for the fire of our intentions. When I arrange things in this way, something mysterious feeling happens. Yes, urgency appears. Yes, distractions and time wasters seem less overwhelming, but life takes on a strange immediacy, calm, and savor that I can't really describe well. It's not just that I can focus on what must be done, but that I want to, and it feels good. When I've dragged negotium into otium, I often consider the rightness before me and think, you can just choose to do the right thing today. In other words, the virtuous thing. Very often that's exactly what I start to do. I'm not sure of the proper way to describe what I experience, though I'll keep working on it. So, here's wishing all of us a bit more wisdom, a bit more wonder, and a bit more skepticism about our limits in the new year. See you next time.